Hey everyone, welcome to G Culture Pattern. Today's dress is inspired by the Dananeer's beautiful outfit, and this is my take on the design. Here's the original dress. If you want to make this dress yourself, you can get the sewing pattern from the link below or in the description. For a limited time, you can get 30% off. Just use the code DANANEER at checkout. But hurry, this offer is only valid until tomorrow midnight. Now let's get started with sewing. First, we will begin by sewing the Kali panels together. Place the pieces right sides facing each other and start stitching along the sides. We need to create two Kali panels, one for the front and one for the back. Sew 16 panels together for the back and 16 panels together for the front. Once all the panels are joined, you can serge the seams to give it a neat and professional finish. And that's it for the Kali panels. Now let's move on to the next step. Now that we have attached all the Kali panels together, it's time to create the gathers so they match the inner skirt waistline. To do this, sew a long basting stitch along the top edge of the Kali skirt. But instead of one, we will sew two parallel lines of basting stitches, spaced about 0.25 inches apart. Now gently pull the thread to gather the fabric and even out the gathers so they distribute neatly and evenly. Once the gathers match the inner skirt waist length, now place the inner skirt and the gathered Kali skirt together and stitch along the waistline to attach them securely. Repeat the same process for the back skirt. And that's it. Now we have both our front and back skirt pieces ready. I used a ready-made embroidered panel for both the bodies and sleeves. Since we used embroidered net fabric, there was a gap on the sleeves because the bodice and sleeves came from an embroidered panel. While regular embroidered sleeves are usually fitted, this one is fuller, so I need to attach extra fabric pieces on the sides to fill in the gap. So right now I am just sewing those extra pieces in place. If you are using a embroidered net fabric in meters, you can skip this step since it won't have the same issue. Now that the sleeves are complete, let's move on to the next step. Now it's time to attach all the pieces to the base fabric. Simply place your net fabric or embroidered pieces over the base fabric and pin them down securely. You can either pin or sew along the borders to keep everything in place. Personally, I prefer pinning. It's much easier and requires less effort while still giving a neat finish. Once everything is secured, we are ready for the next step. Now let's attach the princess panel to the front bodice. Place the pieces right side together, aligning the edge carefully. Since the seam is curved, take your time and sew slowly and gradually to keep the stitching smooth. Sewing curves can be a bit tricky, so be sure to guide the fabric gently without stretching it too much. Repeat same for the other side too. Once done, press the seam for a clean and professional finish. Now let's attach the net to the waist fabric for the back bodice and sleeves as well. Just like we did for the front, place the net fabric over the waist fabric, making sure it's smooth and aligned properly. Now let's work with canvas. This is a one-sided glue canvas, so we will be tracing on the non-glue side. Here I am using the mid-neck part of the front bodice as my guide. You can also trace directly from the neckline, but using this method gives a better structure. I have already explained this in the cutting guide. Once traced, leave an extra 1-inch gap around the edges and cut it out. Now place the glue side down on the fabric and iron it to fuse. Again, leave an extra 1-inch fabric margin and cut around it. To secure the edges, sew along the edge and trim off any extra fabric. Then carefully cut out the shape to refine it. Now that's it. Now we are ready for the next step. Now let's attach the canvas piece to the front bodice. First mark the center of both the canvas piece and the front bodice. Align the midpoints and pin them in place. Then sew along the edge with a 0.5-inch seam allowance. Once stitched, notch the seam carefully to help it lay flat. Now flip the canvas to the wrong side so it's neatly tucked in. To hold it in place, I am using fabric glue tape. Just position it, press it down and iron over it to secure. Finally, do turpai, which is a hand hemming stitch, along the edges for a clean and professional finish. And that's it, the neckline is now structured and secured. Let's move on to the next step. Now let's work on the mid neckline piece. Take both pieces and place them right side together. Sew along the top edge to join them. Next, flip it to the wrong side so the seam is neatly tucked in. Now position it beneath the front bodice. You can stitch it at your desired length by measuring from the shoulders. Here I am placing mine at 6 inches from the shoulder seam. Once positioned, top stitch it in place, making sure everything is even and symmetrical. Now let's join the shoulders. Place the front and back bodice pieces right sides together, aligning the shoulder seams. Pin them in place and sew along the shoulder line with a standard seam allowance. Once stitched, you can serge or overlock the edges for a neat finish. Now press the seams towards the back to keep everything smooth and well structured. And that's it, the bodice is coming together beautifully. Let's move on to the next step. Now let's work on the collar. First, take the canvas collar pattern and trace it onto the canvas. Cut it out carefully. Next, place the glue side of the canvas onto one of the collar fabric pieces and iron it to fuse. This gives the collar a structured and crisp look. Now, fold and sew along the bottom edge of the canvas collar to keep it clean. Place the two collar pieces right sides together and sew along the top and sides. Once stitched, notch the edges to reduce bulk and flip the collar to the wrong side. Make sure to even out the shape nicely. Now mark the center of the collar and do the same on the bodice neckline. Align both midpoints and attach the collar to the bodice, pinning it in place before stitching. Now that we are prepped the collar, it's time to attach it to the bodice. First, pin down the collar along the neckline, making sure it's evenly placed. Now sew it down with a 0.5-inch seam allowance or stitch right over the previous seam line for a clean finish. Once attached, tuck all the raw edges inside to keep everything neat and smooth. Now, carefully top stitch the collar all around to secure it in place, making sure the stitching is even and symmetrical. Now let's move on to the sleeves. Take double layer fabric and cut out the bottom shape of the sleeves, leaving a 1-inch extra gap for finishing. Now place this piece on top of the sleeves edge and sew it down along the curve. Once stitched, flip it to the wrong side, making sure the edge is clean and smooth. Now double fold the hem and sew it neatly to secure the edge. Repeat the same steps for the other sleeve to keep both sides symmetrical. Now let's attach the sleeves. First, fold the sleeve in half to find the midpoint. The deeper side of the sleeve is for the front bodice, so make sure it's placed correctly. Now align the midpoint of the sleeve with the shoulder seam of the bodice and pin it in place. Next, start stitching. Attach the front side of the sleeve to the front bodice and back side to the back bodice. Sew carefully along the armhole curve to ensure a smooth and even finish. Repeat the same steps for the other sleeve. And that's it. The sleeves are now attached and the dress is coming together beautifully. Now let's attach the skirt to the bodice. Place the bodice right side up so the right sides are facing you. Now take the skirt and flip it upside down so that its wrong side is facing up. This way when we sew, the right sides of the bodice and skirt will be together. Pin everything in place, making sure the gathers are evenly distributed. Now sew along the waistline with a 0.75-inch seam allowance, securing the skirt to the bodice. And that's it, the bodice and skirt are now joined. Now it's time to add the finishing touches. You can attach any laces or embellishments you like to enhance the design. Here I am using two laces on the waist. One is a normal embroidered lace and the other is delicate shell lace. First, place the embroidered lace along the waistline and pin it in place. Sew it down carefully, make sure the stitches are neat. Next, take the shell lace and layer it on top or slightly below the first lace. Depending on the look you want, again pin it first, then sew it down. That's it, the lace detailing adds a beautiful finishing touch to the dress. Now, let's even out the skirt hem and check the alignment. Lay the dress flat and check if the bottom of the skirt is even. If you see any uneven areas, trim them carefully to create a smooth balanced hemline. Now let's hem the skirt for a clean and polished finish. First, sew a single stitch along the bottom edge of the skirt with 0.25 seam allowance. This will help create a smooth fold. Now double fold the hem to enclose the raw edge completely and sew along the folded edge to secure it. Repeat same for back skirt and inner skirt too. Now let's attach the lace to the cully skirt. Now let's sew both side seams and complete the dress. First, check your measurements to ensure the perfect fit. Here I am sewing the sides with a 1-inch seam allowance. Pin the sides together and sew from the armhole down to the hem. Make sure to remove any pins as you sew to keep the stitches clean. Once both sides are stitched, give the seams a final press for a smooth finish. And that's it, our dress is complete. I hope you found this tutorial helpful and easy to follow. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on new sewing patterns and discounts. You can grab this pattern from the link in the description. And don't forget to use the code Dananeer for 30% off until tomorrow midnight. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see next. Happy sewing and I will see you in the next video.